terrifying. I haven't filmed in forever, and I had planned today to film at least 2 videos, and then I got sick last week, and I feel awful now. My voice, I probably sound weird. My head hurts, my throat hurts, I'm sneezing, I'm coughing, I feel a little lightheaded, not gonna lie, but I'm filming today because I said I would film today, and I'm doing it, and it's happening, and if I sound like a dying brat, I apologize, but I need to film a recent reads, because when have I last filmed a recent reads? I don't even know when. First up, we have The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. The Silence of the Lambs is the sequel to Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, which I read and watched shortly after. There's a human right there. So in The Silence of the Lambs, we follow our main character, Clarice Starling. She is an FBI student, and her boss, Jack Crawford, asks her to present some questions to the infamous Hannibal Lecter, which in the big picture sounds simple enough, but there's so much on the line with this meeting. The FBI is currently dealing with a serial killer named Buffalo Bill, and they're hoping that in asking Hannibal Lecter these questions, it will be of use to them in the case. So there's a lot weighing on Clarice, and there's a lot going on, and the story takes off from there. One thing I want to say is that if you're a fan of horror and thrillers and you still have not read Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs, you must read this. Do it now. Right now. Okay? Okay. I know I can honestly only really recommend the first 2 books because that's all I've read. I haven't read Hannibal or Hannibal Rising, and I don't know if I want to because I haven't heard the best things about those, but the first 2 books are a must read. Honestly, they are just so well written, they are clever and engrossing, and they're page turners. You can't really put these down. Something that I found out recently too, which I thought was incredibly fascinating, I had no idea. So not too long ago, I may have been watching a episode of true crime on the television, on the TV. I may enjoy true crime a lot more than I would ever care to admit, but whatever. So I was watching true crime, and in the episode they said that the character, the serial killer in The Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill, I guess he was inspired by a bunch of real-life serial killers. I don't remember all of the serial killers, but off the top of my head, let me think. There was Ed Gein, who I believed skinned his victims, ew, and Ted Bundy, who pretended he was injured by wearing a cast to lure victims to his van, and Gary Heidnik, I think. I could be completely wrong, but I think he kept women that he kidnapped in a pit in his basement, which that terrifies me. I guess that doesn't really matter, I just felt like sharing that. But I've been watching a lot of, not necessarily true crime, but horror recently. I was watching The Zodiac the other day, the film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr., and that freaked me out a lot because I live very near to where the Zodiac took place, and so I'm just freaking myself out. I'm sick, I'm weak, I'm scared, whatever. Moving on. It's a great book. If you haven't read The Silence of the Lambs, if you haven't read Thomas Harris, do yourself a favor and read them, okay? Okay. Next we have Barsk, The Elephant's Graveyard by Lawrence M. Schoen. I don't know how to pronounce this author's name. I apologize. This is a book that I picked up solely because of the title, really. The add-on in the title is called The Elephant's Graveyard, and that just sounded so interesting to me. Because I like elephants, and The Elephant's Graveyard, I don't know, it just sounded interesting, so I had to read it. Having read it now, this is probably one of the strangest books I've ever read. It is quite bizarre. I am going to struggle to describe this book a lot, but I'm gonna try. So this is a sci-fi fantasy-esque book. It takes place in a distant future where humans no longer exist and no remnants of us existed at all. Like, we're just gone completely. But in a way, our successors are thriving, and our successors are animals that we all know and love. Elephants, lions, tigers, otters, all of that, except that these animals are now more I don't know if I would say sentient, but they're now walking, they're talking, there's a universal language, they're very intelligent. We created them this way, and now they're thriving in the universe. And so there are planets everywhere, home to each of these creatures that we have created. And Barsk is the home of the elephants, and they're known as elephants, so fence. And it is completely fascinating because they're walking, talking animals. So just imagine an elephant, almost human-esque, walking on 2 feet with the elephant trunk and just talking in a English-esque language. It's weird, right? And that's just the world that we're in. The actual story of this book, on this planet Barsk, this elephant planet, they are basically the home to medicines. They create all of these medicines for all of the worlds, and they have a drug called cough, I believe, and so many other animals want this drug because of its properties and what it can do for them. So people are just, you know, on the hunt for that, and it's causing a lot of trouble in this world, and, you know, just so much. I'm I'm losing my trail of thought. I don't know if I described that well in any way, shape, or form. What I wanted to say is that I didn't love this book. I didn't hate it either. I do appreciate this book. I love the idea of it. I just really wanted more. This is a standalone sci-fi fantasy book, but the world and the ideas within this, there's so much that you can do with this that I wanted more. There's so much more that is worth writing about in this world, and I just wish there was more, but there isn't any, and I'm kind of sad about that. One thing I really enjoyed about this book though is that it used this bizarre story of these animals as a vehicle to really delve deep into really heavy topics such as racism, cultural identity, and this behavior of a society, sort of, in a way, and I really enjoyed it because of that. But like I said, not my favorite by any means of this year, but this is definitely something that I will look back on and think about here and there every once in a while. I'm not sure if I want to reread it necessarily, but if the author ever continued in this world and wrote more, I would be right on board to read more. And what did I just say? I don't know. I'm sick. Moving on. 2 books down. 3 to go. Okay? Bear with me. Next up, we have The Library of Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. The Library of Mount Char is a book that I read months and months ago as a buddy read with Sue from the restricted section. Hi Sue, if you're watching this, I hope you're doing well. You're lovely and awesome. So this is, again, one of the weirdest books I've ever read. This book is so weird. I don't know how to describe this book. So in this book, there's a library. In case you couldn't tell, there's a library, right? And this library, it's pretty special. It's a very important library. It holds all the secrets to the universe, basically. And the person that runs it, known as the Father, this godly figure, he recently goes missing, and he's nowhere to be found. People think he's dead. Who really knows though, right? And it's not good that he's missing because this library is run by him, and him being gone means that this library is unguarded, and this library is so powerful, and in the wrong hands, well, shit will hit the fan, and that's what happens in this book. That's all I'm gonna say, because spoilers. And because I really don't even know what else to say. This book is so weird. This book is scary at times. It's very complex with so many different things going on. It's strange, it can be heartbreaking, and at the same time it's also hilarious. And these things don't often go well together, but it pulls it off so well. The things that go on in this book, the characters, their motives, every little thing, if you actually take a step back and look at this book at the big picture, it's awfully ridiculous and doesn't make any sense. Despite the fact that everything in this book is so unbelievable, it's written in such a fun way that you have to go along with the absurdity. You have to go along with the ride and enjoy it for what it is. And I did. I enjoyed it a lot. I want more though. I wish that there was more to this book. I want a sequel. I want a movie, I want a TV series. I don't really know what I want actually. Scott Hawkins, if you're watching this, I just want more because this is such a what the fuck book, really. It's really enjoyable. I really, really love this. After that, I read a wonderful book. Amazing book. Honestly, fantastic, really, because the character of this book, the main character, is, you know, iconic and great and my favorite. So The Price of Freedom by A.C. Crispin. This is a book in the Pirates of the Caribbean universe. Look at this book, isn't it gorgeous? Can we just appreciate this cover? In case you are unaware of this book's existence, this is the origin story to Jack Sparrow, on how Jack became a pirate. It takes place about 10-ish years before The Curse of the Black Pearl. I'm not gonna say much about this book. We all know I loved it because it's Jack Sparrow, it's Pirates of the Caribbean. I honestly think it's a well-written book though. It doesn't feel like fanfiction. It is canon. You know, Jack Sparrow wasn't always a pirate. He was once a first mate for the East India Trading Company, which is mind-boggling in itself. There is so much I want to talk about with this book. I could go on for hours and hours about how Jack was poorly treated and how he didn't deserve what happened to him, but that all involves spoilers, which I don't want to spoil anyone because, I mean, honestly, who's gonna read this? Probably no one, but for the slight chance that there's someone watching this that wants to read this and wants to read about Jack's origin story, I won't spoil you, so I'm not gonna talk about any of that. I love this. I recommend this for anyone that loves Pirates of the Caribbean. We have reached the final book for the video, and that book is Kontiki by Thor Heyerdahl. This is a nonfiction classic that I have been wanting to read for years, and I finally read it. For those that are unaware of this incredibly captivating story, let me tell you a little bit about it. Thor Heyerdahl had a theory about the Polynesian islands, that they were settled by people from Peru, but no one believed him because they said, well, there's no way for people from Peru to settle these islands because they had no boats. What Thor's theory was that they got there by raft. Still, no one believed him, so he decided to prove them wrong. He built his own raft and he sailed across the Pacific with a couple buddies to prove that he was right. And he did prove he was right. He succeeded, and this is his account of that journey, and it's incredible. I loved it so much. I would also like to point out that they all lived, no one died, which is always great. I think this is a wonderful nonfiction book for people that don't often read nonfiction to get into because it's such a fun adventure story at its core. We see Thor and his crew out on the open water. They're catching sharks, they're going through treacherous storms, they are viewing all this sea life just up close and personal. It is just incredibly fascinating. Also, the documentary and the film are also really good. I highly recommend to watch those if you want to. Just do it. Do it. Those are all the books that I will be talking about today. I'm sorry that I am a mess right now, but I mean, I'm sick. There's nothing I can do about that. So I'm gonna end it here. I hope you guys have a great day or night wherever you are. If you have read any of these books, thoughts and opinions, leave them down below. I would love to chit chat with you guys. I'm gonna go and make myself a cup of tea and just lay in bed and hopefully read a little bit and then fall asleep. Yeah, that's my plan. So I will talk to you guys in another video soon. Okay, goodbye.